Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are gathered here for the Dr. A.M.A. Azeez Commemoration Meeting and Memorial Oration. I would like to invite our chief guest for today, Dr. Hussainmiya, President of A.M.A. Azeez Foundation, Mr. Khalid and Farooq, President of the Oration of A.M.A. Conference, Mr. A.M.A. Sharif, Principal of Zion College, Mr. Trizu Manika, and Mr. Ashraf Romi to come up on the head table.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب المشرقين ورب المغربين فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان مرج البحرين يلتقيان بينهما برزخ لا يبغيان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان يخرج منهما اللؤلؤ والمرجان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان وله الجوار المنشآت في البحر كالأعلام فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان صدق الله العظيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه على كل حال حمدا يوافي نعمه ويكافي مزيده واعف عنا واغفر لنا يا كريم يا رحيم يا ربي يا الله يا ربنا لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك ولعظيم سلطانك ومجدك سبحانك لا نحصي ثناء عليك أنت كما أثنيت على نفسك سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزينة عرشه ومداد كلماته اللهم صل على سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد وبارك وسلم عليه اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وخطايانا كلها يا رب العالمين اللهم بلغ مرادنا وحصل مقاصدنا فقد حوائجنا يا قاضي الحاجات اللهم يا غني يا حميد يا مبدئ يا معيد يا رحيم يا ودود اكفنا بحلالك عن حرامك واغننا بفضلك عمن سواك யா அல்லாஹ் கிருபையில்லனாயினே ரப்பே ரஹ்மானே அளவற்ற அருளாளனே நிகரில்லா அன்புடையவனே எங்களுடைய அனைத்து பாவங்களை மன்னித்தருள்வாயாக யா அல்லாஹ் எங்களை பெற்று வளர்த்த ஆளாக்கி எங்களுடைய தாய் தந்தைகளுடைய பாவங்களை மன்னித்தருள்வாயாக அறிவை சொல்லி தந்த ஆசான்கள் உஸ்தாத்மார்களுடைய அனைத்து பாவங்களை மன்னித்தருள்வாயாக யா அல்லாஹ் எங்களுடைய குடும்பத்தார்கள் உற்றார் உறவினர்கள் சகோதர சகோதரிகள் நண்பர்கள் அயலவர்கள் முஸ்லிமான மூமினான ஆண்கள் பெண்கள் அனைவர்களுடைய அனைத்து பாவங்களை மன்னித்தருள்வாயாக விசேஷமாக இந்த இடத்துல நாம யாரை ஞாபகம் செய்கின்றோமோ யா அல்லாஹ் எங்களை விட்டு பிரிந்து இதோ மன்னரையுடைய வாழ்க்கை வாழக்கூடிய கண்ணியத்துக்குரிய டாக்டர் அப்துல் அசீஸ் அவர்களுடைய அனைத்து பாவங்களை மன்னித்து அவருடைய மன்னரை யா அல்லாஹ் நீ பொன்னரையாக ஆக்கி அருள்வாய் இந்த உலகத்தில் வாழக்கூடிய காலத்தில் ஒரு சீதேவியாக வாழ்ந்தவர் ரப்பே ரஹ்மானே. ஹைருன் நாஸ் அன்ஃபஉன் நாஸ், மனிதர்களில் சிறந்தவர், மக்களுக்கு பிரயோஜனம் செய்தவர் என்பதாக நபிகள் நாயகம் ஸல்லல்லாஹு அலைஹி வஸல்லம் ஹதீஸுடைய விளக்க பிரகாரம் இந்த உலகத்தில் வாழக்கூடிய காலத்தில் முஸ்லிம் சமுதாயத்துக்கு சேவை செய்தவராக வாழ்ந்துவிட்டு சென்றவர் ரப்பே ரஹ்மானே. இன்னும் ஞாபகப்படுத்தப்படக்கூடிய ஒருவராக இருக்கின்றார் ரப்பே ரஹ்மானே. பாடசாலைகள், மதரசாக்கள், பள்ளிவாசல்கள், இன்னும் பல்வேறு யா அல்லாஹ் பொது இடங்களை உருவாக்கி மக்களுக்கு அதிகமான சேவைகளை செய்து தன்னுடைய பேரை நிலைநாட்டி விட்டு சென்ற அவர் ஒவ்வொரு வருடமும் ஞாபகப்படுத்தப்பட்டு வருகின்றார் ரப்பே ரஹ்மானே. அவருடைய பேரில் வைக்கப்பட்ட இந்த மஜ்லிஸை நீ கபூல் செய்தருள்வாயா. அவருடைய கபருடைய வாழ்க்கை பிரகாசமாக்கி அருள்வார். அவர் செய்த அந்த சேவைகளுக்கு இரட்டிப்பான கூலிய கபர்களையும் ஹஷர்களையும் கொடுத்து உயர்ந்த அந்தஸ்தை அவருக்கு யா அல்லாஹ் ஜன்னத்துல் ஃபிர்தௌஸுல் ஆலா என்ற சொர்க்கத்தில் யா அல்லாஹ் நீ கொடுத்தருள்வாயா. அவரை நீ புரிந்து கொள்வாயாக, அவருடைய சேவைகளையும் புரிந்து கொள்வாயா. எங்கள் அனைவர்களையும் யா அல்லாஹ் இப்படி பொது சேவைகள் செய்து நல்ல துஆ பரக்கத்துடன் வஃபாத்தாகக்கூடிய மௌத்தாகக்கூடிய பாக்கியத்தை எங்கள் அனைவர்களுக்கும் நசீபாக்கி அருள்வாயா. அல்லாஹும்ம ரப்பனா ஆத்தினா ஃபித் துன்யா ஹஸனா وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا رب ارحم والدينا رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا وصلى الله تعالى وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم آمين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام.
The Dr. A.M.A. Azeez Commemoration meeting and memorial oration, which is an annual feature, is being organized by two organizations, Dr. A.M.A. Azeez Foundation and the All Ceylon A.M.A. Conference. I am now pleasure in inviting Mr. Khalid Farooq, President of the Dr. A.M.A. Azeez Foundation, to enter us together.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi. Respected ulama, our guest speaker, Hussainmiya, Mr. Ahmad Sharif, National President of the All Ceylon A.M.A. Conference, Mr. Tizzi Marika, Principal of Zahra College, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Mr. Ali Azeez and members of the Marhum Azeez family, distinguished invitees, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to the annual Dr. A.M.A. Azeez Commemoration and Memorial Oration. We are gathered here today to commemorate the death anniversary of Dr. A.M.A. Azeez, and we have in our midst a learned scholar, Dr. B.A. Hussainmiya, Fulbright Professor and Professor Scholar in Residence, Florida International University, and former Professor in History, University of Brunei. He will deliver the oration on the subject of Muslims and education in search of excellence. Dr. Azeez was the foremost Muslim educationist, having the distinction of being the first Muslim civil servant, having excelled in the field of administration. Dr. Azeez took over as principal of Zahra College from Dr. T.B. Jaya. During his stewardship, Zahra excelled and flourished not only in the field of education, but also in the sports and other extracurricular activities. He was also honored being nominated as senator in the upper house of the Sri Lankan Parliament. Among the many institutions established by Dr. Azeez, the All Ceylon A.M.A. Conference and the Ceylon Muslim Scholarship Fund continue to illuminate the lives of the Muslim community. A.M.A. was his brainchild, and Marhum Nadim Hajar enthusiastically accepted the thoughtful proposal and initiated this noble education institute. Today, A.M.A. stands out as a leading higher education institution celebrating more than 50 years of existence, producing eminent scholars and administrators. I thank the All Ceylon A.M.A. Conference for continually associating with the Dr. A.M.A. Azeez Foundation to commemorate this anniversary. I would like to thank Mr. Tizzi Marika, the current principal of Zahra College, Alamru, for all the assistance kindly extended to make this program success. I sincerely thank you all for your kind presence and participation on the occasion in remembering Dr. Azeez.
Mr. Farooq. Ladies and gentlemen, the All Ceylon A.M.A. Conference was founded by Marhum Dr. A.M.A. Azeez 75 years ago at this place, in this hall, to make it a national body. While about 18 YMAs existed in various parts of Sri Lanka, and it was Dr. A.M.A. Azeez who convened a meeting at this Kafur Hall in 1950, April 30th, and made it a national body, and it is known as the All Ceylon YMA Conference. And the present president is Mr. Amhar Sharif. I would like to invite him to address the gathering.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi Israh li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi zidni ilma. Respected ulama, the guest speaker, Dr. B. Hussainmiya, Mr. Khalid Farooq, President of Dr. A.M.A. Azeez Foundation, Mr. M. Ashraf Rumi, Chairman of the A.M.A. Board of Trustees, Mr. Azeez Commemoration, Principal of Daira College, Member of Diplomatic Corps, Mr. Ali Azeez, members of the Marhum Azeez family, distinguished invitees, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It gives me great pleasure on behalf of All Ceylon A.M.A. Conference to welcome you all to the annual Dr. A.M.A. Azeez Memorial Oration. Since the sad demise of Marhum A.M.A. Azeez, the All Ceylon A.M.A. Conference had been commemorating his death anniversary from the year 1975. The first commemoration function was held under the chairmanship of Mr. M.I.M. Hussain, District Judge, with Mr. S.M. Amaldeen as the secretary. After the formation of the Dr. A.M.A. Azeez Foundation, the YMMA collaborated with the Dr. A.M.A. Azeez Foundation in organizing the memorial oration. This year, we are fortunate to have in our midst a learned scholar, Dr. B.A. Hussainmiya, Fulbright Professor and Scholar in Residence, Florida International University, Miami, and former Professor in History, University of Brunei, as the guest speaker to deliver the Dr. A.M.A. Azeez Memorial Oration. Incidentally, the learned professor belongs to YMMA, hailing from YMMA Maliga. We are very much pleased to welcome you, sir, to this occasion. All are aware that Marhum Dr. A.M.A. Azeez was the founder of All Ceylon YMMA Conference. In his own words, the organization was inaugurated, inverted comma, to breed a new generation of men worthy of the highest traditions of Islam and capable of highest deeds to serve this country in every branch of modern life. I wish to thank Dr. A.M.A. Azeez Foundation for organizing this memorial oration in association with the All Ceylon YMMA Conference. We will move forward with faith, unity and discipline, and thank you one and all for your presence on this occasion. Wassalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Before I invite our chief guest for today, Dr. Hussainmiya, I would like to give a brief introduction about his achievements. Dr. Bachamia Abdul Hussainmiya, Bachelor of Education Honours, BA Honours, PhD, is a noted South Asian historian with an academic focus on Brunei history and Sri Lankan Malay cultural heritage. His service in academia spread over 50 years having retired as a professor in history at University Brunei, Darussalam, 1988 to 2016, and in post-retirement, he served as a visiting lecturer in history at the Southeastern University of Sri Lanka for 4 years. In 2022, the Fulbright Foundation honored him by inviting him as a scholar in residence position at Florida International University, Miami, USA. He is recognized widely for his unique interdisciplinary approach to historiography, combining meticulous archival research with rich cultural narratives. He has many publications to his credit. I will stop at that about his achievements, otherwise it will be another oration. The printed copy of the oration gives his entire impressive CV, copies of which will be available at the end of the meeting. I have great pleasure now inviting Dr. B.A. Hussainmiya to deliver the oration on Muslims and education in search of excellence.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Allah Kardem Farooq, President of the Dr. A.M.A. Azeez Foundation, Mr. A.M.A. National President of Oration Conference, Mr. Trizvi Marika, Principal Zahra College, Haji Ali Azeez, and Mr. Ashraf Umi, Chairman of the Board of Trustees of A.M.A. and my friends, ladies and gentlemen. I think when I was in the secondary school, one of my teachers taught few phrases. One of that is a red letter day. I didn't understand the significance of that at the time, but today I consider this is a red letter day in my life in addressing you. Particularly I see in the front seats quite a number of people with whom I had associated with my childhood. I don't want to name them because if I by any chance miss any of the name, all of these people in one form or other have interacted with me, and they have been my close friends and supporters, and encouragement they have provided me today, making me to stand in front of you. Well, Mr. Kardem Farooq warned me, hey, don't try to read all this. Certainly not, sir. I have been, when I was requested by Mr. Farooq and Ali Azeez to make a speech, they asked me for my topic, and I said I would like to talk something about education, which is very close to the heart and minds of the great personality about whom I am going to address it today. So, in the instruction of Mr. Azeez, he said, saying, go ahead with whatever you want to say. We will talk about it, we will print it out, and please don't control your thoughts. And in the process, I was almost writing up a book, but there too, I controlled the thought and came up with a 15,000 words booklet, which you can later read if I'm not giving you enough clarity in my thoughts. Anyway, it is my time to thank you heartiestly for having invited me to this occasion. In fact, I think a few years ago, 5-6 years ago, also the suggestion was made to me to give a speech, but at that time I was thinking I was not ready or deserving enough to give such a oration on this occasion. Anyway, what is happening today is, since I returned from Brunei, I have been talking to several meetings. One of the customary way of holding meetings by our Muslim groups is they give you 10 minutes to talk, 10 people to talk on several subjects. So I was used to this 10-minute talk, and today I have to stand before you to give a long oration, but I am sure I will not bore you by just reading this talk. I will come to the subject, serious subject I will talk to you, but it is very important for me to say a few words about Marhum Dr. A.M.A. Azeez. I will say and I. There have been many things said about Marhum Azeez, and A.M.A. Azeez Foundation.com has done a marvelous service by gathering and collecting speeches by all the eminent people who have taken opportunity to stand before you and talk about Mr. Azeez. And every one of them have approached Mr. Azeez's contribution from various angles. So I don't want to add too many things about it. We all know, basically people who are here, what Mr. Azeez had contributed to the advancement of education, particularly among the Muslims, and having created a great coterie of elite among the Muslims who have become leaders in many areas. But I would like to not touch those things in details. One of the things which makes me to be emotional in this stage is I have stood in the stage on various occasions for speeches, and also I have sat on the audience to listen to Mr. A.M.A. Azeez's speeches. So this particular Gafur Hall is not stranger to me. I have been in and out of it during my days before the university and after the university. There was one occasion, I don't know, maybe one or two people remember, that I have been thrown out of this stage. There was a time the Muslim community was discussing about which language should the Muslims language teaching or studying, that is Tamil or Sinhala. And I have aligned myself with Mr. Markas at that time, and the hall was quite full, and most of the attendees were school teachers, and I had stupidly addressed them as SSCum adakku melum paditha Tamil aasiriyargal. It was very young, it was hot-blooded, and they all got up and tried to throw their chairs on me, and my sponsors virtually had to hide on me. So I recollecting all these things running through my mind in this audience. Now, coming back to Mr. Azeez, I must honestly say, he was my role model in my young age. Because as a student of Maligavatta Denham School, I used to see him often. And I remember vaguely that I have received what you call various book presentation from him. Secondly, in 1960 I remember that I participated in a Vila oratorical competition in the same state where I won a prize, and after that I was taken to Principal Azeez's room, and that was the first time I was stunned to see him majestically sitting with a beige suit. That picture is still in my mind. In fact, quite a number of people have commented on Mr. Azeez's personality. Although the elite people of the time called him Nata, meaning that he's coming from Jaffna background, still his stature, his personality, his handsomeness was very prominent feature for any aspiring young student. Anyway, the first time I came into notice of Mr. Azeez was when I sat for my university entrance examination in 1963, and he has read my name along with GLPs as we topped the batch in that year. GLPs on the English medium side, and I was in the Tamil medium, and both of us were given prizes, exhibition prizes. And Mr. Azeez, I remember, has asked one of our family friends, Lafir Qasim, who's this young man? I would like to see him one of these days. Anyway, that meeting never came. In the 1970, I think, I would like to repeat this history. In the 1970, I became a history lecturer at Peradeniya University. So, he was seated in Malgat, Wyoming, I think, at a meeting. And somehow or other, I happened to strike a conversation with him. So while striking conversation, we found out that I have done history honors and I am due to go on a scholarship to do my PhD. That really kindled him, and he wanted to further his acquaintance with me. And subsequently, I had to visit him once or twice in his house, and we discussed quite a lot. But as you know, Mr. A.M.A's writing, a very small piece of writing, in the Encyclopedia Islam, still stand unrivaled as the primary source for students of studying Sri Lanka Muslim history, which I mentioned to him. He was very, very happy and proud to know about it from a, what he called, upcoming or budding historian. So, and then he realized that I will be quite useful to him because he himself was to finish his doctorate. Unfortunately, very early in his life, he got a scholar to Cambridge University, I think, to do his PhD by the government scholarship, which we know the history of him, that he gave up and then joined the Ceylon Civil Service. Although he joined the civil service and served for 20 years, and even as a principal of Zaira College for 13 odd years, his desire to do a PhD never went up. So I think it was one of his greatest desire he should get his doctorate, but finally, of course, he got his doctorate from Jaffna University in 1980. They gave him honorary doctorate for the service he has rendered for education, Muslim education, Tamil, etc. So that was how my small interaction with Mr. Azeez continued. But very sadly, in 1973, I was about to go to Monash University, Australia. You were of it, I think, month of November. I heard that he passed away. I don't want to talk too much about it. That came as a really big blow to me, not to me, for so many others. Me, why? Because he, Mr. S.M. Kamaldeen and I were planning a route about my postgraduate work. And I knew he was going to be a great help. For example, sending my thesis chapter for him, etc., etc. Now he passed away, and I think I lost my right hand at that time. It was a very sad story. So I'll stop it. Before I get to my main subject, I need to find some kind of uncanny comparison with Mr. Azeez and I. One is, as I told you, he won exhibition prize in 1929 for history. And I won it, the second Muslim day, for that in 1963. Secondly, he did history honors, and so I did. And both of us ended up with the second class upper division, which is, of course, we both topped the batch. The comparison ends there. Now, interestingly, I too sat for Ceylon Administrative Service, like him. Of course, you know, Ceylon Civil Service was abolished and this thing, and I sat for Ceylon Administrative Service while I was interviewed for Peradeniya University lectureship. And there again, I became number one in the country on the list of three to become Ceylon Administrative Service. Whereas Mr. Azeez chose to go to Civil Service, I declined to join Administrative Service because I thought academic service was my forte. In fact, had Mr. Azeez was alive, he would have discouraged me from going to the Administrative Service, which I know personally. My friend, late Dr. A.M. also went to Mr. Azeez and asked him whether he would like to join Ceylon Administrative Service. Mr. Azeez said, no, you people have to follow academic service because it is through own experience. One last point was that Mr. Zuhair is there in what capacity. He one day called me why don't you try to become a principal of Zaire College? And he sent me two people, I think, Mr. A.M.A and M.P.M. Furkan was there. At that time, I was at the brim of social service. If Mr. Ashraf wasn't there, I would have become minister at that time. I was right into the point, and I was almost like a, what you call, undeclared ambassador to several embassies, particularly Indian embassy. And I formed an organization, the YMMA and farms, etc. at that time. So, right at the midst of it, Mr. Furkan asked me a question. I know, I heard about you so much. You are a very enthusiastic young man. Would you like to accept this position? Will you take a challenge? I thought twice, and I thought of Mr. Azeez at that time, believe it or not. And I thought I will not deserve it. And I don't think I will do it. And our path diverged. So there is a lot of things between Mr. A.M.A. Azeez and I, comparison with other things. But today, God has willed that I am going to talk about it. So, without much ado, let me come to my main subject. Today, I am going to speak about the challenges facing Muslim education. And my thesis here is Muslim education did not take off from the day they left in the 13th century. And why? What are the reasons? In fact, my good friend, I shouldn't reveal this thing, Mr. Zubair, after reading my draft, he told me, the ideas I am propounding here is not for today. It is for 50 years hence only people will realize. I think that is what is called prophetic sayings. What I am saying is today, it's coming from the bottom of my heart. Why? Because I was in the academia more than 50 years. I have corrected hundreds of essays and dozens of PhD theses and masters. And I have been in and out of seminars inside the various universities. So I know, and particularly I was working mostly in Muslim universities, Malaysia and Brunei. Brunei I served about 28 years. And that was founded in 1986, 2 years before I went, with great, hope to create a new generation of Brunei society. Similarly, Malaysia also formed quite a number of universities, and on top of it, quite a number of Islamic universities. Now my question is this. When Marhum Azeez associated himself with Hussainmiya, it was not just to create a class of scholars who would be steeped in Islamic knowledge on the one hand and on the modern knowledge on the second hand, because he would like to combine these two aspects in order to produce a perfect human being. In fact, it was not Mr. Azeez's first dream. There were quite a lot of Islamic leaders before that, Muhammad Abdu, Jamal bin al-Afghani, and Sayyid Ahmad Ali Khan, and of all, A.M.A. They have all confronted the situation whereby Islam has been going down the drain in terms of conservatism and mullahism. And meanwhile, the world is progressing, the other communities are going forward, but the Muslims are tracking backward. In order to overcome this situation, all these reformers have come up with various ideas to combine modernity with tradition. And they succeeded. In fact, Sayyid Ali Muhammad Khan's Aligarh University produced one of the greatest scholars of the field. And Iqbal, A.M.A. Iqbal inspired quite a lot of universities, especially through Mr. Azeez, to create a new class of scholars. So that was Mr. Azeez. And that Mr. Azeez also brought up this element when he founded Jamia Hussainmiya. Jamia Hussainmiya is not just the brainchild of Azeez, I don't know what to call it. There were other Mashud Ali was there. Quite other number of people up there, Tasim Nadwi and Shukri, everybody. But he did contributed knowledge in such a way that Mr. Azeez, personally responsible with Kalimadia in Alexandra Road House to select the lecturers and even students. He personally took an interest, not just ideological type. And of course, Jamia was established. Today it is thriving. I'm not saying thriving. But I don't want to cast aspersion. Now, why are these colleges, Islamic colleges, say Islamic universities, are established? It is not just to produce the modern ulamas. There is one important objective they have to fulfill. That is to create outstanding, excellent scholars who will make a breakthrough studies in both Islam and knowledge. Now tell me, keep in our heart, how far these universities have come up to their expectation. Now this is not a question bothering me. While I was doing research for this work, in search of excellence, I had to study a lot of books. And I had to download quite a lot of material from the internet. And then I realized there are so many others like me raising the same questions. That is, what happened to our education? What happened to the greatest, what we call knowledge creators in the world? What happened to them? Why are we in this stage? For example, today we are watching the situation, how two Muslim girls have resigned from Microsoft for understanding the artificial intelligence used by Microsoft in favor of Israel. Now look at the situation. Where did the innovation and science go? So in order to do that, let me read out some achievements which you and I know in order for us to understand how the Islamic science had thrived before 13th century. Now why did Islamic science thrive? When Islam was born, it was born with a knowledge like a sun. Now look at Al-Quran. And whatever it said had inspired the Muslims at that stage for equality. I am not talking about the warfare, I am not talking about the Dawah system. But education-wise, Al-Quran made a very big statement. I would like to read that one statement. I don't know the Arabic, I'm sorry. This is a translation I will read. One of the Al-Imran, Surah number 3, verse 190. What this says, surely in the creation of the heavens and the earth and the alternation of the night and the day, there are signs for men possessed of minds who remember God, standing and sitting on their side and reflect upon the creation of the heavens and the earth. See, reflect upon the heavens and the earth. Here geography come, astronomy come. You see, that's a very strong statement in the words of our Almighty God. And I don't need to repeat what Prophet Muhammad said. He himself, the very fact, as we know, all of us as Muslims say, Bodh Veera, read, Ikra. And what he said was, the importance of knowledge in his teachings, he said that on the day of judgment, a person will be questioned about how they use the knowledge they grant. This is, I'm quoting from Al-Tirmidhi, Hadith 148. Now, why do I say that? At the beginning of Islamic civilization, when Abbasids and Umayyads were ruling, the scholars have taken this as their dictum and started investigating all aspects of knowledge. So, I don't think I should repeat something which I think, for the sake of this speech, I have to tell you. This Muslims transmitted the hero zero from India to the world. Leonardo da Vinci studied the Arabic numeral system and introduced it to Europe. Algorithm algorithm was invented by Al-Khwarizmi in the 9th century. And Abu al-Wafa developed trigonometry. Ibn al-Haytham developed optics, proving that rays pass from objects into the eye, and wrote about optic illusions, binocular vision, mirages, rainbows, and halos. Jabir ibn Hayyan prepared sulfuric acid and classified chemicals in the 8th century. Paper manufacturing technology was brought by Muslims in the 9th century and spread to the Middle East and Europe, leading to an expansion in the publication of books. The Muslim scholar Ibn Khaldun is credited with founding the discipline of sociology. Al-Idrisi, who lived in Sicily, compiled a book on medieval history and geography of Europe, producing 70 maps of the world. Al-Biruni and Ibn Battuta were famous travelers and historians, whose scholarly works are still regarded as pioneering contributions to history and geography. I made a point to mention to you in the connection of the inspiration which Islam, Al-Quran and Hadith have provided specific period of time. My question is, okay, if you are that great at that period, why you are not great now? And I have been living with this question all the time. Particularly, I have come to my later part to speak, my personal exposure to academia and intellectualism. Right. Tell me, why has the modern Islamic world been unable to match or maintain the progress of the Western world in science, education, technology, the arts, and innovation? What advancements have been achieved in Islamic science for the past millennium? Why have the seminal scholars of Islam from earlier epochs not surfaced in modern discourse? Why do Muslims not pursue alternatives to the progress and wealth that Eastern nations like China and Japan have provided to the world? How likely will the Islamic world develop into a contemporary, materially advanced nation capable of competing with other industrialized countries to improve global standard of living? Despite the glorious intellectual legacy, the decline of Muslim intellectualism is a tragic story. The factors leading to this decline are multifaceted and complex, but several critical moments in history contributed to the weakening of the intellectual and scientific traditions of the Muslim world. And what are they? Let me enumerate some of them. There are hundreds of reasons, maybe many reasons, but from my studies, I have highlighted as a historian few facts. You can test it whether I am right or wrong. One significant factor was the Mongol invasion in the 13th century, which destroyed major learning centers in Baghdad, Cairo, and elsewhere, which dealt a devastating blow to the intellectual infrastructure of the Islamic world. Second, the arrival of European colonial powers in the Muslim world in the 18th and 19th centuries exacerbated its decline. Colonization disrupted Muslim majority regions, educational systems, economies, and political structures. The imposition of Western educational models often sidelined traditional Islamic knowledge, creating a divide between religious and secular education. While colonial powers promoted European-style schools and universities, the Islamic education systems focused predominantly on religious studies, neglecting the broader scientific and technological fields rapidly advancing the West. Number three, the legacy of colonialism, occupied with the political fragmentation that followed the fall of the Ottoman Empire, has left many Muslim majority countries grappling with inadequate educational infrastructures. The post-colonial era also saw the rise of nationalism, often at the cost of Islamic unity, further weakening the Muslim world's collective intellectual and educational strength. So, as we turn our gaze to the present, we see that the situation of education in many Muslim countries remains in crisis, politically, economically, and socially. Many Muslim nations are struggling to catch up with the rest of the world, particularly in the realms of scientific and technological advancement. The Muslim world is experiencing stagnation, to say the least, in education at all levels, from primary school to university. Another factor was coming back within our own system of Islamic education. There has been a deep divide between secular and religious education from the Muslims. In many Muslim majority countries, religious education, typically imparted through madrasas, focused heavily on religious studies while neglecting the sciences, mathematics and other subjects that are essential for the modern world. I am not generalizing it. In fact, Al-Azhar University, for the last 50 years, have been trying to enter into all fields of branches of knowledge, not just Islamic knowledge, I must take it. But overall, our madrasa system, although trying its best to bring their curriculum into line with the modernity, but they are still lacking quite a great deal of advanced knowledge creation. So, the problem is, how does the Islamic attitudes of science differ from the Western counterpart? Oxford Dictionary defines the science as the intellectual and practical activity encompassing the systematic study of the structure and behavior of the physical and natural world through observation and experiment. Science makes necessary to accept the key premises underlying science, that is, causality and belief in the existence of physical law. Without the scientific method, you cannot have science, because science is all about objective and rational thinking. Science demands a mindset that incessantly questions and challenges assumptions, not one that relies upon received wisdom. It implies that the natural study of our physical world through various fields, including biology, ecology, medicine, physics, etc., included in the field of science. What is our Islamic view of science? It's far more Islamic view of science is not science per se, not science for science's sake, but it is a comprehensive endeavor encompassing fields of study outside technology and the natural world. The Arabic term ulum, or sciences, used in the Islamic tradition, signifies modern scholarship in its fullest meaning as an academic and scientific field, but the expertise in many areas of Islamic world, such as theology, jurisprudence, mysticism, etc. So Islamic scholars are therefore refer to their scientists as ulamas and their scientists. So you can see these are diluted version of science, not based on objective. Now I'm coming to a very important subject, innovation. No society can progress without innovation. Now, Mr. Zubair, they also, after reading my paper, he mentioned, you are forgetting what happened. The technology of weaponry is the Western system uses. Of course. So what is the alternative we are having? I don't want to create a Shia Sunni division here. The only country where, to my knowledge, is after innovation, after discovering new weaponry, is, I am showing from Islamic world, Iran. And one thing I realized, I was in Libya several years back. I found the best thinkers and doctors were there, medicals. They were not there during the previous pre-Gaddafi period. This Gaddafi bought whole Malta medical college. Instead of sending Libyans to Malta, he imported the medical college into Libya, and I was told when I was there, it was in later, Libyan produced best doctors. And the Arabs are very clever people. And if the Arabs, Al-Khwarizmi and Ibn Sina would be there, Arabs cannot be second-class citizens any time. And you can see on the Iraqi Baath Party, the amount of knowledge they have. So today, that was replaced by Iran. I'll come to the point. Why Iran is forwarding? Why not Arabs are not forwarding? I'll come to that point too. So today, the most important thing about Islam is to innovate. The God has given you permission. It is the responsibility is on you. Innovate. But what do we do now? Now this is, I'm going to enter a little bit of controversy. We have a theory among the Muslims to understand ram it in, children's heads are hollow. Ram it in, there's still more to follow. I am a student of what we call Palikul. madrasa schools or afternoon schools. Now today I am standing on this. Why? Because I resisted. Islam, Markam and Jikari. So they are putting onto you from the beginning the faith. No problem. But beyond that, if you ask questions from the school or beyond that from the Lepe, they knock you down. And I was a bad boy in my madrasa school. I used to run away because I couldn't handle anymore the kind of restrictive environment which provided me solely to read Quran and just follow it up. Instead of going to madrasa, what I do is sometimes I go to a, what you call this, reading, there's a reading room in Malgavati. I spend there. And one day, the Rebbe sent people to carry me from the reading room. If this really happened, they carried me. And went and I got a big beating on my buttock for not attending. You see, that bitterness has developed in me not to go with the crowd. Think separate. You are not talking against God. You are not talking against Allah. You are not talking against the Prophet. But you are thinking, am I allowed or not? Well, I'll have to come face to face with one other thing. Recently, I visited International Islamic University, Malaysia, and I met quite a number of Sri Lankan students who are doing masters and PhD in International Islamic University. I raised some of the very fundamental questions for the world. What is your answer to this? What did Buddhism say? What did Hinduism say? Now I am preaching to Islamic followers in the Islamic University, thinking like a psychiatrist, asking them comparative questions. You know what happened? One lady doing PhD, Muslim girl, asking me, "Sir, you are talking too much. Have you read Quran? Have you read Quran?" And I asked her repeatedly, "Did you read Quran? Have you read Quran?" "No, sir." Then I said, "Yes, I read Quran. I do translation. I don't know Arabic. And you know my distaste to Arabic." "No, sir, you have to study Quran in Arabic. Then not you will understand." You see how the mindset has been developed. This is a very serious issue. Another instant I may interfere in tell. University of Brunei, this Al-Azhar Vice Chancellor or the big fellow was seated, Sultan was also there. A lot of other people were there. He was telling everybody should know Arabic because it is through Arabic you can understand Islam. And it is through Arabic you understand Quran. And if you understand Arabic and Quran, you will never make a mistake. I was thinking, now, I was sort of a little rebellious. Question time I simply asked, "Sir, do you know Arabic?" He got angry. This really happened, it was on record. "Sir, do you know Arabic? Why are you asking me? This is what I'm talking about. Sir, do the Arabs read Arabic?" Then he asked, "What are you talking? Huh? No, do they understand Quran? Of course they understand Quran." So you mean to say that the Arabs who study Quran and all are good Muslims. That surprised them. That's a question. It is not in the religion. See, the amount of unethical things Muslims could commit is not all due because you study and you get convinced. It is the way to distinguish the right and wrong. That is, Allah has already prescribed it. Think for yourself. So what I'm trying to say to you is, our mindset is completely overcome by this necessity to ascribe to the, what you call, the so-called knowledge. Well, now, one more item I like to raise. This is another question I'm asking. I've been teaching European history for a while in my universities. One thing that struck me when I was teaching medieval Europe was the theory of Christendom. Christendom is the time period, say between 14th to 15th century, 16th century, the entire knowledge in Europe was in the hands of a small coterie of Pope and his clergy. Every knowledge has to be referred back to religion and Bible. Nothing can go beyond Bible, and Bible cannot be translated. And all this Bible knowledge has to be centered on God. Everything has to be seen the prism of God. And they asked the question, why do they happen? But later what happened was, there were some daring guys who studied Bible not based on the God, but on man. The Bible is sent to man. So they studied man as a center in the Bible. And what happened was, the whole knowledge like linguistics, philosophy, all things started flowering. They started printing presses. So the Christendom came from the hands of the clerics and the religious-based knowledge into the hands of the people who wanted to study man as a God's creation. And that is where the greatest European scholars came, and that movement is known as you know, people study history as Renaissance. Renaissance. Even A.M.A called this movement Renaissance. But I was going through some of these articles, and listening some of the Muslim mullahs, they don't want the word Renaissance. What is Renaissance? Refurbishing, reflowering. Why can't we do that Renaissance? Why should we be in the old tradition? So that is my fundamental question, the details of which you can read it in my book more thoroughly. Right. Now I think I can go on and on and on. I'm going to give my some final remarks. Right. Final remarks is very critical because, you see, I have been in Brunei Darussalam for so many years, and they spent a lot of money on the universities, and they started Islamic university on top of it. So, again, there was a big gathering, not like this, full. The Vice Chancellor was releasing a book. What is the book? Islamic marriages, marriage in Islam. Oh my God, when I went through that, there's nothing. Al-Quran, translation. Hadith, translation. Al-Quran, translation. All what you get about marriage, extant and written by a Vice Chancellor. So, after a speech, and I can't just bear it. During the evening time, I said, Sir, Doctor, I call him Doctor, what are you trying to tell me about? This, what's your problem, he asked me. No, you are not saying anything about marriage. There are a lot of questions about inheritance, psychological issues, divorce. You are not talking anything about it. But you are just saying, this is Quran says Islam, this is Quran Hadith says about marriage. Then you know what he said? Shocking. You can't say anything beyond this. My job will go. My job would go. Because if you start thinking and trying to input something into that, your job will go. I understand what it means. Today, I will come to the point what happened to a great Turkish scholar. In other words, in Muslim education, if you go beyond and try to put your self-knowledge, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. Why? Because there's authority, there's a priestship, they all cohort together. If they don't agree with your ideas don't go through. And this has been happening over and over again. Now, one of the most important questions I've been asking in relation to, if so, why didn't Muslims produce enough Nobel Prize winners? As you know, to my knowledge, there are only 4 science Nobel Prize winners. And whereas Israelis, much less, have large number of Nobel Prize winners. Some of this, when I raised this with one of my mullah friends, he said, why are you worried about Nobel Prize? This is the white man's prize. You think about Allah's prize. What you will get? If you spend time on Allah, and your Nobel Prize will be much higher. Oh, I just shut my mouth. I'm talking an indicator. I verbally indicated. And mind you, all these 4 Nobel Prize winners did not study in Arabic countries or Islamic countries. They studied in the Western countries. Then they asked them, why Muslims don't take Nobel Prizes? They also keep their mouth shut. Because you can never do these things within the Islamic. In fact, yesterday I was going through A.M.A's foundation from Amir Ali's speech. He said one interesting statement in one of his speeches in the same podium. That is, the Renaissance is not going to come from Arab countries. Muslim Renaissance. Muslim Renaissance will come from the Western countries. What does it indicate to you? We are restricted, constricted. Third, I think Ibn Khaldun said, you Muslim scholars are not going to be any more scholars because you're very comfortable. Tell me about the best of the universities Saudis have created now. High technology. They want a lot of money. But what will be the outcome? I tell you another anecdotal example. I shouldn't talk like this. I went to Qatar for an important international conference, which is run by, I think, Carnegie Mellon University. In Qatar, there are 2 systems. One is state universities. The other ones are universities imported, like what Gaddafi did. They brought all the top Western universities there to educate their bureaucrats, which they are doing successfully. Luckily, Qatarization or Saudization or Dubaization is going through because of the contributions these Western universities are doing. But what the local university will do? What happens? I went to a library. Massive library. Massive, 4 floor, 3 floor. Then I asked, where are the women? No. The same thing is replicated upstairs. For women separate, the same building. The libraries, the bottom part is for the men. The upper part is for women. Alright, leave alone. So I went to the main library. You won't believe. The latest books are there. I have a craze. When I go to foreign libraries, I look for my book. So when I picked my book was there. So that means it's a complete. But no, I'm not exaggerating. There was one guy on the corner was looking at his Facebook. Then I asked my Sri Lankan lecturer, who was lecturer, sir, am I allowed to go to the women's section? No problem. You come, I'm a lecturer. I go, same story. Do you expect this scholarship to go through? I come back to another minor point. Look at this Southeastern University, where I was teaching not teaching, I was consulting for 4 years. You know, it is a national university. I shouldn't say it's a Muslim university, it's not fair. But it is Muslim dominated. Now there what happens? Within about 2 years, there were about 28 professors. 28 professors have been promoted. And before promotion, after promotion, no work is done. During my period in India, we had only 2 or 3 professors. The great guys. Today, do you expect this so-called Islamic-based Southeastern University is going to produce any kind of great innovative knowledge of scholarship? my personal experience. And I have been in and out of this academia system. We have this so-called conferences. What happens is, I went to a conference in Malaysia 5 years ago. This is a must. Before I finish speaking, I must tell this, my own experience. This great leader, the education conference funded by Saudi Arabia, and they talk about Islamic education, research, scholarship. I simply asked one question from the chairman, sir, how do you assess your standard, your scholarship? Do you have any indices? Do you have any kind of peer review? Do you send it to recognize people to scholarship? But we don't do that. We are Muslims. We have our own same standard set. Honestly, sir, it's an international Islamic conference. We have our own set. Who are you, class? I know you must be from a Western university. How is that? And I was sidelined. But during my speech, I made the same way. I didn't care. And I was virtually sent out because I am not the man inside. You can see how the Islamic world is treating Islamic conferences, Islamic education. Same thing. In Tamil, they say, A.M.A. Same thing over and over. So in other words, I'm sorry that I have to speak in these terms, that if this is the situation in our universities, we are not going to go very far. Very far. One more point I will tell you. Recently I had this, the Tesla owner, what's his name? Tesla. Yeah, Elon Musk. I was impressed by one of his statements. He said, here, no one tried to teach children that their mind made to play Musk, then only they realize. In a way, that's true. Look at Elon Musk today. He thinks from nowhere to the point he can even reach up to Mars. That is the kind of thing we expect our Muslim scholarship to do. Don't dump them with that. Of course, we all going to have no problem about this. I mean, we have to study Quran, we have to study Hadith, we have to be Muslims. Nobody questions about it. But I'm talking, the very Muslims have to face the world. Today, we are facing that. See, when we were young, I was brought up in the so-called Islamic Brotherhood. From being in Maliya, what is a Muslim preponderant area, we think about Ummah. If one Ummah gets feel, we have to feel for it. Today, all thrown out. Forget about it. There's no Ummah as such. Power is such. Weaponry is such. Israel is there, existing. Today, almost any time this can happen. I don't know what Allah wills, not what I wills. What's going to happen to Iran, we don't know. In Tamil, there is a saying this, Kalaham Pirandal Nyayam Pirandal. If there is a war, something is to happen. But I don't know. We can't predict. This is Allah's will. What I'm trying to tell you is, if a community or a nation or a state cannot protect its citizen, it is not worth to live in the community. It is not living in the community. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Like when I was in America, I've been talking to a lot of people. One thing they found out, you can do anything outside America, but not inside America. You have to keep us safe. Don't talk. Why? Whether Trump or Biden or anybody, they protect their people. Same with England, Sweden, protect their people. Whereas Muslim people exposed. Too much exposure. Is this knowledge? Is this intellectualism? Is this education? Am I wrong or right? You see, I'm talking holistically. I'm talking like an angry, not young man, angry old man on Islam. Because I read a lot, I was exposed to these countries, I exposed to this system, and exposed to the hypocrisy. Hypocrisy. Everything you say between heaven and hell, either you go to heaven or you go to hell. before I conclude, I must say, it is a responsibility of our governments, our communities, our religion to protect us. They should go forward to protect us. Today, what happens? We are exposed. One by one. We have seen in my own history. What happened? I was so close to Libya. I was so happy about the country's progress. And they had all kind of public service system, education, health, free water, free service, water. But under my own eyes, it's crumbled. What happened in Iraq? Crumbled. What happened to Syria? Crumbled. Lebanon crumbled. Now finally, Palestine is crumbled. Next is Iraq. And God knows what. So am I wrong in getting onto this floor and talking about education, the lofty education ideals? So I want to urge my people, my religion, my community to stand up for justice, protection, prepare your weapon. One of the things which often announce me, that now people say, oh, when they found something discovery, it's all in Quran, all in Al-Quran. Everything discovered. I remember I was meeting in, I think Mahathir Mohamad was just became Prime Minister. I went to one of those. Listen and show you. In the sea, Quran, you see. Oh, the spreading of what you call clouds. And you bring the Prime Minister and try to convince him that this cloud separation going in Quran. He actually walked out. My question today is, okay, take Al-Quran. Everything is in Quran, I don't deny. But do you discover anything from Quran? Okay, tell me. I challenge you. I am now challenging. If you get in Quran, there's one code like EC square, MC square, like Einstein's theory of atom bomb. If you really study Quran, Almighty Allah has hidden a code there. Find the code. Find the code. Then we talk about education and future. That is the challenge I'm throwing to my Islamists. I'm sorry, I know you may not like some of my idea mistake, but I cannot think like all in the cuckoo's nest. I want to think outside and see what clarification will. So final last point, I want to say this very recently, there's a great professor, Turkish professor called Kuru. He wrote a book. This is the last one. He wrote a book. Yeah. Before that, I've been requested for 3 or 4 minutes to speak in Tamil for service people. Let me speak about it. In fact, on my way I was thinking, yes, Mr. Azeez wants to create a generation of scholars, English educated elites. Yeah, that is the period. But now today, the necessity has come for our people to be taught, educated in both Tamil and Sinhala. And I don't think my message will go very much for this audience. So, anyway, அன்பார்ந்த முஸ்லிம் மக்களே, இன்று நான் இந்த மேடையிலே எங்களுடைய மகாமேதை மருமகன் டாக்டர் A.M.A அசீஸ் பற்றி, அவருடைய சேவைகளை பற்றியும் அவருடைய கனவுகளை பற்றியும் உரையாற்றுவதற்கு எனக்கு இந்த A.M.A அசீஸ் ஃபவுண்டேஷன் அழைப்பு விடுத்திருக்கின்றது. அதை நான் மனமோங்கி ஏற்றுக்கொள்கின்றேன். இந்த நாட்டு கல்வியல் வரலாற்றிலே A.M.A அசீஸுக்கு ஒரு தனித்துவமான இடம் உண்டு. சித்திலப்பை, வாப்பிச்சு மரிக்கார், டிபி ஜாயா, சர் ராசிக் பரேட், வதீதி மாமூத், இந்த வரிசையிலே டாக்டர் A.M.A அசீஸ் அவர்கள் காட்டிய வழியும் அவருடைய இலட்சிய சிந்தனையும் இன்று எங்களுடைய முஸ்லிம் சமுதாயத்திலே ஒரு கல்வி மறுமலர்ச்சிக்கு வழிவகுக்கும். மருமம் A.M.A அசீஸுடன் வாழ்ந்த காலத்திலே எனக்கு 2-3 வருடங்கள் அவருடன் நெருங்கிய தொடர்பு இருந்தது. அவரை தொடர்பை பற்றி நான் மிகவும் பெருமிதம் அடைகிறேன். இப்படிப்பட்ட ஒரு கதாநாயகனை, இப்படிப்பட்ட ஒரு மாபெரும் காலத்திலே நான் வாழ்ந்தேன் என்பதற்காக நான் மிகவும் சந்தோஷப்படுகிறேன். இதே மேடையிலே A.M.A அசீஸ் அவர்கள் உரையாற்றுவதை கண்டிருக்கின்றேன். மிகவும் ஆஜானுபாகம் அவர்கள். என்னுடைய இளம் பருவ காலத்திலே என்னுடைய இலட்சியங்களை உருவாக்குவதில் அவருக்கு நிறைய பங்கு உண்டு. ஒன்று, அவருடைய தமிழ் ஆர்வம். அவருடைய தமிழ் ஆர்வம் எப்படிப்பட்டதென்றால், தமிழ் இலக்கியத்தை கரைத்துக் கொடுத்தவர். யாழ்ப்பாணம் பன்னார் பள்ளியிலே பிறந்த இந்த யாழ்ப்பாணத்திலே கல்வி கற்று தமிழ் ஆர்வத்துடன் தமிழ் இலக்கியத்துடன் ஒன்றுபட்டு இயங்கியது. தேவாரம் என்றால் அவருக்கு உயர். எவ்வாசகத்தையும் உருகாதார் திருவாசகத்துக்கு உருவ மாட்டார் என்ற ஒரு பழமொழி உண்டு. அந்த அளவுக்கு தமிழுடன் ஒன்றி வாழ்ந்தவர். அவர் ஆங்கிலத்தில் மட்டுமல்ல, தமிழிலே ஒருபடி மேல் போய் அரபு தமிழ், அன்பு தமிழ் என்ற ஒரு வாசகத்தை கொண்டு வந்தார். அதாவது முஸ்லிம்களுடைய தமிழ் பாரம்பரியம் தமிழ் மொழியோடு சேர்ந்து அரபுடன் சேர்ந்து அந்த அரபி மொழியின் பாண்டித்யத்தை வெளிப்பார்கள். அதாவது இன்று அவர் வாழ்ந்திருந்தால் இந்த அரபு தமிழ் மிக நன்றாக உயிர் பெற்று இன்று நடந்து ஒலிம்பிக்ஸுக்கு போயிருக்கு. ஆனால் அன்பார்ச்சுனேட்லி காலத்துக்கு முன்னாலே அவருடைய கருத்துக்கள் தேரவில்லை. இன்று நான் அந்த அரபு தமிழை மீண்டும் வாழ வைப்பதற்காக நான் மிகவும் பெருமைப்பட்டவனாக இருக்கின்றேன். அதே நேரத்தில் முஸ்லிம் பள்ளிவாசல்கள் சமுதாயத்தை நடுநாயகின்ற ஒரு இலட்சத்தை கொடுக்கும். ஒரு கட்டுரை போட்டியிலே நானும் பங்கு பெற்று அதில் எடுத்தோம். அதாவது டாக்டர் A.M.A அசீஸை பொறுத்த மட்டிலே ஆங்கிலத்தில் கல்வியிலே நிர்வாக சேவையிலே பெரிய தன்மை இருந்தாலும் நம்முடைய சாதாரண மக்கள் வாழ்விலே கலந்து உருவாடக்கூடிய பெருவிதமான நியமங்களையும் வாதங்களையும் எடுத்து வைத்தார். இந்த A.M.A அசீஸ் அவர்கள் தமிழிலே மேடையிலே பேசினால் ஆற்றலுக்கு போல் கணீரென நின்று எத்தனையோ தமிழ் அறிஞர்கள் அவருடைய தமிழை பார்த்து வியந்திருக்கிறார்கள். இது ஒன்றும் பெருமை. அதே போலத்தான் ஆங்கிலம். அவர் ஆங்கிலத்திலே உரையாற்றினார் என்றால் அவருடைய பேச்சு அப்படியே மடிமாகமாக அடங்கியிருக்கார். அவர் செய்த இன்னொரு பணி இவர் செனட் பேராண்மை செனட் சபையில் இருந்தார். அப்பொழுது பிரின்சிபலாக இருக்கும்போது அங்கு நல்ல தகுந்த இளைஞர்கள், முஸ்லிம் இளைஞர்கள், தமிழ் இளைஞர்கள் வருவார்கள். இவர் ஹைஜாக் பண்ணுவார். அதில் ஒருவர் மிஸ்டர் பாலசிங்கர் இருந்தால் எத்தனையோ பேர் அங்கிருந்து சமீர் இன்னும் எத்தனை பேர் அமீரர்கள் இப்படி பல பேரை உருவாக்குவது மட்டுமல்லாமல் அவர்களை இங்கு ஆசிரியர்களாக கொண்டு வைத்து விட்டார். இந்த இளம் ஆசிரியர்கள் ஆங்கிலத்தில் ருக்கீஸ் என்பார்கள். உற்சாகத்துடைய கற்பித்தார்கள். எனக்கு இன்னும் ஞாபகம் இருக்கிறது. கொஞ்ச நாள் மிஸ்டர் வாசிகர் கட்டளை படித்தேன். அப்பொழுது அவர் நல்ல எழுதர், ரொம்ப துடிதுடிப்பார். அவர் பேசினாலும் அவர் படிப்பித்தாலும் அதிலே ஒரு இயல்பு உண்டு. இவரை நினைவுபடுத்துவார்கள். அந்த அளவுக்கு நல்ல ஆசிரியர்களை இங்கே கொண்டு வந்து பிராக்டிக்கல் ஐடியா அவர் இந்த கல்விக்கு கொண்டாற்றினார். 1973 அவர் நலிமியாஜியாரோடு சேர்ந்து ஜாமியா நலிமியாவின் தோற்றத்துக்கும் அதன் வளர்ச்சிக்கும் அதன் கல்வி திட்டத்துக்கும் அதன் இலட்சத்துக்கும் நிறைய கொண்டாற்றினார். அவருடைய பேர் இன்னும் ஜாமியா இருக்கிறது. அத்துடன் அவருடைய பொக்கிஷமான அவருடைய நூல்கள் பலவற்றை தாராளமாக சேர்த்து வைத்த நூல்களையும் ஒரு மிக சிறப்பான நூல்களை அவை ஜாமியா நலிமியாவுக்கு சேர்த்து வைத்தார். அதிலே எனக்கும் ஒரு 3-4 புத்தகங்கள் கிடைத்தன. ஒரு நாள் நீ கூப்பிட்டு பான்ஸ் பிளேஸில் எனக்கும் குணமான புத்தகங்களை தெரிவு செய்தாப்பான்னு சொன்னேன். அதிலே நான் இந்த எஜுகேஷன் டைரக்டர்ஸ் கிடைத்தது. அதை தேர்வு எடுத்துக்கொண்டு அவற்றை நான் இப்பொழுது தென்றல் பல்கலைக்கழகத்தில் கொண்டு வைக்கிறேன். ஆகவே நீண்ட நேரம் எனக்கு பேசுவதற்கு நேரமில்லை. தமிழிலே சில வார்த்தைகள் சொன்னேன். வர 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 இந்த நாட்டிலே இளம் தலைமுறைகளுக்கு அசீஸை பற்றிய அறிவை கொஞ்சம் வாங்கி கொண்டு செல்கிறேன். எனக்கு தெரியும் ஒரு முறை இங்கு ஒரு பெரிய வாசகம் வைத்திருந்தார்கள். எவர் தம்முடைய பழைய மூதாதையர்களுடைய லட்சியங்களை மறந்தார்களோ அவர்கள் நம்மை மறந்தவர்களாவா? எக்ஸாக்ட் வேர்டி தெரியாது, எனக்கு அந்த நேரம் பிடிக்கும். அதாவது எப்பொழுதுமே அசீஸ் தன்னுடைய மூதாதையர்கள், தமக்கு முன்னோர்கள் அவர்கள் ஆற்றிய பண்புகளை, சாதனைகளை நினைவு கூறி அவர்களுக்கு மரியாதை கூறி நாங்கள் அவரை உயிர்ச்சின்னமாக வைத்திருக்க வேண்டும் என்று ஸோ இத்துடன் அந்த தமிழ் சொற்பொழிவை நிறுத்திக் கொள்கின்றேன். அதே எனக்கு சில விஷயங்கள் இங்கு ஒரு தனிநபரை பற்றி நான் குறிப்பிட வேண்டும். இதை நான் எதிர்பார்க்கிறேன். மிஸ்டர் சிவசேகர், ப்ரொஃபசர் சிவசேகர், அவருக்கு என்ன ஞாபகம் தெரியாது. அவர் என்னுடைய வார்டு பிரில்லியன்ட் யங் மேன். அந்த காலத்தில் சிவசேகரம் as an engineering lecturer was very highly respected. இன்று ஐ ஃபீல் நான் எனக்கு தவமடைந்த மாதிரி சிவசேகரம் அவர்களை கண்டவர். அவர் இன்று இங்கிலாந்திலே இலக்கிய புலமை பெற்று இலக்கிய நூல்களை செய்து இன்று ஒரு தலைமை ஒரு பாத்திரம் இருக்கிறார். நன்றி மிஸ்டர் சிவசேகர். அவருடைய மனைவி அவர்கள் இருக்கிறார்கள். எனக்கு அவரை ஞாபகம் இருக்கிறது. அவர் நான் என்னுடைய எக்ஸாமினர் அது பத்திரிகை கொடுத்திருக்கிறார்கள். ஐ எம் வெரி கிரேட். மற்றது ஒரு ரெண்டு விஷயத்தை மிக சொல்லணும். தனிப்பட்ட முறையிலே A.M.A அவருக்கு நினைவிருப்போ தெரியாது. இவர் முதல் முறையாக கண்டெஸ்ட் பண்ற மாளிகாவத்திலே எனக்கு அப்பொழுது இந்த மைக்கில் பேசுறது ரொம்ப ஆசை. சின்ன வந்தாரு, ஒரு 13 வயசு இருக்கு, மைக் பேசுறதுக்கு ஆசை. இவர் என்னுடைய வீக்னஸை கண்டுகொண்டார். இவர் இவர் தாத்தா அவர் எனக்கு மைக்கை கொடுத்து என்னை காரிலே கொண்டு போவார். மாரியாவத்தை முழுக்க பிரச்சாரம் செய்து கொண்டு. அப்பொழுது அது மட்டுமல்ல, ஒரு முறை பெரிய வீட் கொண்டு வந்து ஜேஆர்ஜியில் இருக்கிறார்கள். அடுத்த பக்கத்திலே டிஎஸ் டட்டி சென்டர் என்னையும் போட்டு பேசுகிறார். 13 வயசுலே getting onto the stage on behalf of Mr. Fauzi. ஏதோ பேசினேன். அவர் வென்றார். ஆனால் அதன் பிரதிபலிப்பு அதான் 1985 ஆண்டில் கேட்டுக்கொண்டது. 1985 ஆண்டிலே நான் உலக மலாய மாநாடு நடத்தினேன். அதற்கு சீஃப் கெஸ்டா வந்தது ஜேஆர்ஜே. அப்ப ஜேஆர்ஜே வந்து தொடர்ந்து இருக்கு. நாங்கள் தேநீர் அருந்து கொண்டிருக்கிறோம். அப்பொழுது என்னை கைப்பற்றார். Great job. I never expected this. I got some 100 people will come to see the entire hall. முதல் முறையாக அந்த ஹோட்டல் திறந்து வைக்கப்பட்டது. ஜலதாரி முதல் முறையாக அவருக்கு ஒரே புலகாமி ஒரு கேட்டார், நீ எங்கிருந்து வந்த? சார் நான் மாறிகால் உடனே நினைவிருக்கிறார். ஒரு முறை ஹவுசிங் நேரில் ஒரு தேனி ஒரு கொடி எனக்கு இஷ்டமான மனசு இருக்கு. அவனை பற்றி தெரியும். அது நான் தான் சார் உடனே கற்று இந்த கதையை நலிதாக்கு சொல்லி நான் அந்த ஹோட்டலால் போகிற நேரம் அதை கேட்டு அரசுனா என்னுடைய ரசிகனை இன்னும் மயக்கிவிட்டான். உனக்கு என்ன வேணும் கேட்கிறேன். அது உண்மையான கதை. அப்போ அது பௌசியையும் ஜேஆரையும் இப்படியெல்லாம் சின்ன வாழ்க்கைகள் நிறைய நடந்திருக்கின்றன. இன்று அன்பர் மக்கியாஸ் இருக்கிறார். சின்ன வயதிலே அழகான மனிதர். அவர் பயமே நான் கொடியும் அவருக்கு நிலவிற்குமே தெரியாது. காசு வருவார். ஆனால் அவரோட பேச முடியாது. தலைவர் அவருக்கு போவார். இந்த அடிக்கடி வெளிநாடுக்கு போவார். அதுதான் அவருக்கு நினைவு அந்த நேரத்தில். ஆனால் அவர் இலட்சிய புருஷர். இன்று வரை அன்றிலிருந்து அந்த பயமின்மையோட நினைவிருக்கிறார். என்னுடைய நண்பர் அவர் இருக்கிறார். சிறுவாயில் அவருக்கு தெரியுமா தெரியாது. அவருக்கு அட்வான்ஸாக படிப்பு கவர்மெண்ட் பொலிட்டிக்கல் சயின்ஸ். I'm very good to know a good student. Today is a leading economist. இப்படி இன்று ரசத்தினால் பார்க்கிறது. இந்த ஜாயிரா காலேஜை பற்றி போவாங்க. ஜாயிரா சும்மா போயிடாங்க. நல்ல ஒயிட் அடிச்சுக்கிட்டு ஷர்ட் ஒயிட், கல்சம் ஒயிட் கொடுத்து வெரி ஹேண்ட்ஸம், வெரி ஸ்மார்ட், வெரி ஸ்ட்ராங் மேன், ஓகே அப்படி அங்கே பார்க்க மாட்டேன். அப்படி நேர போகிறவர்கள் அவர்கள் இல்லை இவரை வச்சுக்கிட்டான சாயிராக்கள் மதிப்பு. பட் இவரை மாதிரி வரையிலாங்க. அதனால் என்ன செய்வேன்னா, நான் அந்த A-level என்ட்ரன்ஸ் பாஸ் பண்ண பிறகு என்னுடைய அந்த தாகத்தை தீர்ப்பதற்காக சாயிராக்கள் சேர்ந்தேன். 6 மாதம் இந்த ஒரு வசதிக்காக அவரும் நானும் கடந்த காலங்கள் நோன்பு காலங்களிலே அவர் வழியிலே தான் உட்கார்ந்து காலை சகர் வரையிலே நாங்கள் பேசி அழைக்கிறோம். இன்று அவரும் ஒரு நல்ல நிலை இருக்கிறார். இன்று கலந்து பயன் செய்து கொண்டு ஆட்சி படைக்கிறார். சரி, ஐ மஸ்ட் டெல் அபவுட் எங்களோட தலைவர் காந்தன் பாரு என் மகள் பக்கம் எனக்கும் அவர்கள் எல்லாம் சேர்ந்து தான் நாங்கள் ஒரு இடத்துல போய் வேர்ல்டு அசம்பிளி வீட்டில் சேர்த்து ரசூதினோடு உட்பட்டு வாழ்ந்தோம். நான் இதே ஏன் கூறுகின்றேன், சாரி இது அவுட் ஆஃப் சப்ஜெக்ட், ஏன் கூறுகின்றேன் எனக்கும் இந்த மண்டபத்துக்கும் இந்த சாய்ரா காலேஜுக்கும் அதோடு இங்கு வந்திருப்பவர்களுக்கும் ஒரு பிணைப்பை ஏற்படுத்தி இறுதியில் நான் சொல்கிறேன், ஆங்கிலம் சொல்வான், ஐ ஹவ் கம் அ ஃபுல் சர். தேங்க்யூ வெரி மச்.
We have been listening to a very lovely presentation by our chief guest who delivered the oration, Dr. A.M.A. Hussainmiya. He has taken great pains in preparing for this presentation today, and he has done justice by presenting such a eloquent presentation, and I hope everyone enjoyed this presentation. Thank you very much, Dr. Hussainmiya. Next item to the agenda is something we have to talk about Dr. A.M.A. Azeez. Today a book is to be released, A.M.A. Azeez's contribution to agriculture in the East. I've been asked to give some details before the release of the book officially. On Easter Sunday, 5th of April 1942, the Japanese bombed the Colombo Harbour and Trincomalee on 7th April. It was during the Second World War. There was a shortage of food. All AGAs were ordered to increase food production in their districts. The Batikoro district was a vast area, and it was decided to open a kacheri in Kalmuni to oversee the project south of Batikoro, which was the entire Ampara district. Dr. A.M.A. Azeez, who was additional landing surveyor, H.M. Customs, was specially selected and transferred at short notice by Honorable D.S. Senanayaka, Minister of Agriculture, as the AGA of Kalmuni. Dr. Azeez did a tremendous job within 2 years, and the Ampara district became the granary of the East. This was Azeez's greatest achievement, surpassing all others, and was praised by the Honorable Minister and the Governor. The book includes an informative article by Mr. S.H.M. Jameel on Azeez's greatest achievement, together with Tamil and Sinhala translations. There are photographs and exchange of letters between the Honorable Minister and Dr. Azeez, which show the keen interest taken by both in crop production. Mr. A.I. Malika, who was a leading banker and an authority on Islamic banking, was a part-time lecturer at the Southeastern University. On his travel to Oluvil, he saw the vast paddy fields owned by wealthy Muslim farmers who benefited by getting land from Dr. Azeez as AGA. Malika lamented that Azeez's name is now unsung and unheard in the Muslim areas of Ampara district. Whereas C.P. de Silva is revered as Minneri Deviu for his similar success in the Polonnaruwa district. This prompted Mr. Marika to write an article which is included in the Tamil translation to rekindle the memories of the Muslims in the East. He wished to announce the sad demise of Mr. Marika on 6th of April this year after ailing for a few months. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. He was an old Zahirian and a very close and sincere friend of Mr. Ali Azeez. I would like to invite, this book A.M.A. Azeez's contribution to Education of the East has been compiled and edited by his son Mr. Ali Azeez, who is present here. And I kindly request Mr. P. Balsingam, who is an old Zahirian, teacher, member of the Azeez Foundation Committee, and also teacher of Dr. Hussainmiya, to present the first copy to Dr. Hussainmiya. Just at the entrance to the hall. Now I would like to invite Mr. Ashraf Rumi, Attorney at Law, City Coroner, and past President of the Also A.M.A. Conference to deliver the vote of thanks.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Legacies of great people provide lessons which has a positive or negative effect on someone's life. Dr. A.M.A. Azeez's legacy has left behind many positive thoughts which shaped future generations. President of the Azeez Foundation, Mr. Khan Gufar, National President of A.M.A. Conference, Mr. Ahmed Sharif. Our guest speaker, Dr. S.M. Hussainmiya, and Principal Sir, Mr. Azeez. I have great pleasure in delivering the vote of thanks on behalf of the Dr. Azeez Foundation. First and foremost, I thank the distinguished speaker and orator, Dr. B.A. Hussainmiya, for sharing valuable insights on the chosen topic which provided the audience with a wealth of information. And we are truly honored, sir, to have you in this midst. We thank the organizing committee for having made meticulous arrangements to the event and to the officials of Dr. Azeez Foundation and also A.M.A. Conference. To the principal, sir, and the officials and staff of Zahira College for providing the venue and other facilities and making the guests relaxing and comfortable. And the media, both print and electronic, for giving the publicity to the event, and all the invitees, guests who are present here for the event. And Mr. Ali Azeez, accountant, the son of Dr. A.M.A. Azeez, plays a pivotal role in all its activities. And we also wish to remember Professor M.T. Furqan, and together with the former secretary, Mr. A.M. Nahiya, who also played an important role in carrying out the vision of the founder. Finally, I thank Mr. M.F.S. Jamil for coming here. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Mr. Ashafuri, for the vote of thanks. Before we conclude with Divine Salawat, announcement, you can collect the books at the entrance, and also refreshments just outside the hall are available, and for fellowship you can meet. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Sallallahu ala